Okay. Hello, Gloria Grace Rand here, and welcome to week 4 of LinkedIn Marketing Formula. I can't believe it's week 4 already. So we are halfway through the course, and today's class we are going to be focusing in, continuing to focus in on lead prospecting and lead generation, and using, today's focus is going to be more on actually initiating connections, how to be able to search for connections, and then also a follow-up strategy and how to be able to nurture those really good prospects and see if you can't start some conversations with them and be able to get them to become clients of yours. So last week we talked about accepting connection requests. So if you did miss last week's class, the links to them are on the website. It's a two-parter because I was having some internet issues last week. So so there's 2 parts in there, 2 videos, YouTube videos to watch. And so I encourage you to go in and take a look at that. A lot of good info. But today we're going to really dive into being more proactive and taking advantage of the LinkedIn search parameters and being able to look for the types of people who you think would be good connections for you. And also one thing I wanted to mention as well is I also talked about this last week. When you are using LinkedIn, if anybody's on the class, if you're making some noise, if you wouldn't mind muting yourself, that would be awesome. Otherwise, I'll see if I can mute you. Just thank you, so you don't have extra background noise. Anyway, I talked about last week, what I recommend doing is when you're using LinkedIn in this way to be able to keep track of either connection requests you receive or the connections that you are initiating, is to set up a spreadsheet like in Excel, some sort of document so that you can keep track of who you're connecting with and when and what the follow-up is. And as you'll see today, as we get into this searching and doing a follow-up sequence, that it is very important to be able to keep track of this, because I don't know about you, but certainly for me, as a busy business owner and wife and mother, all the different roles that we have in our lives, that we can not keep track of things necessarily if we don't have a system in place. So having a system in place, having some sort of document to help you keep track is going to help you in being able to know when to follow up with someone and what to do, what to say. So I encourage you strongly to do this. I've learned this the hard way in not doing it in the past, but I've definitely been much more proactive now in really setting up a document so that I can keep track, and that way I have something to refer to, and I say, oh, okay, they finally got back to me, this is great, or they didn't get back to me, it's been a week or 2 weeks, I haven't heard from them, it's time for me to contact them again. So all right, so what I'm going to do is share my screen, and God willing, with this computer, it's going to work out, and I'm going to be able to show you about how to start searching on LinkedIn for prospects. So let me get over here, and we're going to share the screen. Okay, so far so good, yay. Okay, so excuse me. All right, so this is basically, again, this is your homepage of LinkedIn. And so there's several things that you could do. And again, I'm going to be sharing this now just as a reminder again with LinkedIn. LinkedIn has free and paid services. I'm still using the free. With the premium services that they offer, they do give you more robust searching capabilities, but I think there's still enough capability here in the free version that you don't have to worry about it, and that you can still make good connections and be able to build your business. So first thing you do is, and all I did here was just kind of put my cursor over the search bar, and you see it comes down to, you've got actually, they give you 3 main categories of searching. You can search for people, you can search for jobs, or you can even search through posts, which is interesting. And we're gonna get into the posting strategy next week, and so we'll get back to this, because this is going to be a good way for you to be able to do some engagement with people. So we'll come back to that next week. So for the meantime, we want to search for people. So we're going to, whoops, wait, come back there. Now I don't want to look at my thing. Okay, here we go. Sorry, using a new computer. Mouse is a little sensitive. Okay, come on. There we go. Search for people. I don't know why. There we go. Okay. 3rd time's a charm. There we go. All right. Okay, so when you get here, it's somehow, well, I think it remembers sort of the last search that I did. But if you go over here on the right-hand side, and actually let me move these. When I have it screen shared, all of your windows show up on the side, so I'm just moving that out of the way. So you've got an opportunity to filter people, and by a lot of different criteria here. So you can search just through your initial connections first. So you can choose this. Whoops, sorry. Yeah, go away. Okay, there we go. So you can filter people by just first connections. And so now everybody that shows up here, I've got 1,712 connections. So that's what is showing up here. So that's one thing you can do. And I think initially, I think that's a good way to start when you're beginning this I don't want to say job, but beginning this process. That's the word I'm looking for. Beginning this process of searching is certainly start your search through your own network initially, and begin to see the people that you've already connected with in the past. And this is your opportunity to look through there and see if they are good potential prospects for you. So when you're doing this, now you can certainly just, right away just start kind of scrolling through and look at your connections, or you can get a little bit more detailed and specify some keywords. Yeah, come on. Yeah. Okay. Stop doing that. Let me just see if I can just hit enter, see if that'll work better. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. So the keywords that you can do. So obviously, if you knew somebody's name, you could search for them right away if for some reason you wanted to connect with somebody in particular. But ideally, I think the category that you'll probably want to use the most often is title. So for instance, I have done keyword searches for owner, or if you want to search for people in a particular industry, let's say real estate, or I don't know, marketing or health or something like that, you could even put that in there. Well, not actually under title, but let me see if I can scroll down here a little bit. Industries, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So you could put the title. So a title of somebody, maybe it's vice president, CEO. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. So CEO, owner, things like that, and then you can do a search that way. You can also search by connections of. So you could, if you want to see, maybe you've got a good colleague or somebody that you're very connected with, or somebody that you know, maybe that you're already connected to that is in your industry, you could add them here and put their name in and then search their connections. So that's another option. You can certainly look at locations, and if you want to focus your search in a particular geographic area, that's another option for you. If you want to specify where they work, current companies, past companies, and then industries. This is what I was getting ahead of myself earlier. So if you want to focus on looking for prospects in a certain industry, this would be an opportunity for you to do that as well. And of course, there's other categories here: nonprofit, interest, schools. So that's how you can kind of do the search. And of course here, so you can upgrade to a sales or hiring plan to unlock additional filters, including function and years of experience, which can be helpful. But again, I would, in using, what did I do? No, I didn't want to go there. Okay, well, here you can see now the premium. It's pretty, oh my goodness, this keyboard is very, very sensitive. So I'm going to go back here. There we go. Go back to our search. I think that you can certainly start using the free version of this and be able to get as much, use it as much as you can. And then when LinkedIn offers you a free trial, go ahead and try it for a while and see if it's worthwhile. But as I think I've mentioned in a previous class, I had a client who was using the premium version, and she really didn't find that she was getting that much out of it. So she went back to the free. So I think there's enough that you can get to it. Now, what I was, let me show you. So as I was saying, you can search by first degree, or you can also then, once you're done combing through your network to look for your best prospects, then you can widen your connections. So what I'm going to do is actually do that just for fun here. And it's already just automatically pulling up a whole bunch. I've got 400,000 results, which is a lot of people to go through. So I think what I would like to do is narrow that down a little bit. So I'm going to search by industry, and LinkedIn is nice, and it will automatically sort of give you some suggested industries to do. But if you don't like those, you can always add one in yourself. But I'm going to, just for fun, I'm going to pick real estate and see what comes up. So now I've got, this is a little better, now I've got 25,000 results in real estate. And the other awesome thing about doing this is that somewhere here, unless, of course, and I've said this in the past, is that sometimes LinkedIn winds up changing things on you. From the last time they're always changing things. And I was going to say that you have an option to save your search. But it appears that you no longer have the option of saving your search, which is very disappointing to me, because I was going to recommend that you do that, because LinkedIn would allow you to save a search, and then they would email you the results of that. And I am not seeing an option to do that, which is very disappointing and disconcerting. Oh, well. Well, this brings me to my next point that I wanted to talk about here, is that when you are searching, you are going to have to be careful about searching on LinkedIn, because they only allow you to do a certain number of searches per month. I don't know what that number is. There is nowhere in LinkedIn does it tell you how many searches you can do, but you may come up with a message that will pop up and say that you are bumping up on the commercial use limit, and they're not going to let you do any more good searches like I'm doing right here. However, the monthly usage will reset at midnight Pacific Standard Time on the 1st of every month. So, but the good part about this, or at least one thing, well, actually, let me before I go there, let me tell you a little bit about the activities that contribute to this. So certainly, like I'm doing, an active search for a profile is one thing that does that. Another thing is browsing profiles using the people also viewed section, which I will show you that, oops, in a little bit. I just lost LinkedIn. Where did you go? What did I do? Okay, I'm going to stop screen share for a moment, because, here, let me stop the screen share for a moment, because I lost LinkedIn. I think I accidentally closed out of it by mistake, so I'm going to go back in there in a second. I could close. Yeah, I know. I'm going back in there. Yeah, I'm logging back into LinkedIn. I'm getting some help there, but I knew exactly what was going on, so it's okay. Anyway, where was I? Okay, so as I was saying, there is, so what happens is, I'll show you that people also viewed section in a minute, but anyway, activities that don't contribute to it is that searching profiles by name using the search box. So if you already have an idea of somebody's name, you can plug that in there and that's not going to do anything. You can also browse your first degree connections from the connections page. And that is, pardon, my dogs are starting to bark. I hope you don't, that's not getting picked up on the audio here. But if you're looking at all of your connections right here and you go to that, where we click on it, you can search these connections right from this page, and that's not going to count against you. So that's another. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I apologize. You're not seeing any of this because I forgot to share my screen again. So let me go back there. That would help. That would help a lot. Okay, sorry about that. There we go. Okay, come on. There we go. Okay. All right. I'm going to go back to the home screen here for a minute. Okay. So the activity that doesn't contribute includes browsing your first degree connections from the connections page. And just as a reminder to do that is you click on My Network, and then you click on See All Your Connections. And so now you can actually search connections here, or you can use the filters. And actually, I believe if you just, let's see if I type something in here, see what happens. If I type in, that'd help if I spell correctly. If I type in owner, I think that only pulls up what's in the headline, which is, yeah, that's all that does, which unfortunately it doesn't. So it's more helpful to use the filters. So the filters might actually still count towards that way of being able to search for people, and it will help, and it will get you to bump up on that. I'm going to clear out my searching for the minute here. Okay, now there's 3 million results, which is quite amazing. Oh, I wanted to show you something. Actually, I do want to show you something because they were saying browsing, there's another way for you to actually look for connections, and unfortunately, evidently, this does contribute, but I'm going to go just click on this one of my connections here. And I'm not sure if I had showed you this before in a previous class, but over here on the right-hand side, you will see a section called People Also Viewed. And this is when someone else is searching or searching through LinkedIn, they have come across Andrea's profile, but they've also wound up seeing these other people. And checking out, it's a good idea to check out this section here too, because these are people who are similar, or at least when someone was doing a search, these people were perceived as being similar to the profile you're looking at. And so this could be another way for you to find some prospects that way. But again, you do have to be careful with this. And one thing I'm going to tell you is, I guess one good thing is you can initiate a connection request with some of the people here that you come across. And the beauty of it is with LinkedIn, you can have 30,000 first degree connections. 30,000, which is a crazy amount of people that you could actually connect with on LinkedIn. I don't know who has done that on LinkedIn. I'm sure there probably are some hardcore people there, but I'm certainly not up to that number yet. But 30,000 people, that's a lot of people. And imagine that you are connected to 30,000 people on LinkedIn, that's first connections. Your second and third degree connections just go exponentially up from that. I mean, you could be able to see, millions of people really through that third connection. And also there's no limit to people who can follow you. And that's something else that you can wind up doing as well. And I'll kind of show you that a little bit more next week, because when you're dealing with posting and dealing with submitting articles, you can get into that. So let's see. Okay, so that, I don't know. Actually, I'm going to, if anybody has any questions about searching, right now, before I get into the connection requests, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question. We can take a second here, and I'm happy to answer anything. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to mention. I'm still annoyed, though, that you can't save your searches. That really is disappointing that they took that feature out. And I'm hoping maybe it's just a temporary glitch, and they will put it back in here, because I've been getting emails from LinkedIn of past searches that I've done, and I find that to be a really, it was a really good feature. But I guess, they want to make money, and so I suspect with the premium that you actually can save the searches if you pay for premium. So I'm going to have to really try that out and see. All right, so I'm going to stop my share for a second, since I don't see anybody having any questions at the moment, and that's okay. All right, so what do you do when you do your search? Okay, so after you've done your search and you have found some prospects that you think are good, well, let's put it this way. Once you've done your search and you come up with a list of names, as I talked about last week, is then you want to spend some time looking at their profile and seeing what you have in common. Because then when you go ahead to make that connection request, I recommend that you then refer to that. And in fact, what I did, I know what I haven't done today, and I'm going to upload, oh no, I can't do that, sorry. Okay. When the class is over today, I will upload the notes for session 4 to the website. You'll be able to download it. So what I will do instead is I will, I'm not going to be able to share my screen for that, but that's okay. That's the problem of using a different computer today, but it's okay. Anyway, you will have in your notes that I've got for this week's class has information on what you can filter people by, and then it's also got some sample connection requests. So I will just read those to you and share them with you, because I put in a couple different versions of them. But the main point is, when you are looking for prospects, it's important to see if you have anything in common. Perhaps you're both members of the same group on LinkedIn, or maybe you both went to the same university. Maybe you're from the same city. Look for some type of something in common. And then you can go in and make that connection request. And actually, I think I am going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen again, because what I want to do is, come on, I'm going to show you how to actually do the connection request. So let me show you that briefly here. So I'm going to go back to LinkedIn. There we go. Okay. All right. So let's say that I wanted to connect with this person. So you can see right away on here that you can actually connect to them right from the search parameters. I, again, wouldn't necessarily recommend that. What I would prefer to do is to look at his profile, look at this person's profile first. And this is what I was saying is we want to scroll through here and see if there is something that looks like this person would be a good prospect for me. So, or for you in your case. So, look down through there, see, and right here, there's a couple things that stand out right away. So number one, we have 315 mutual connections, which is quite amazing. But sugar. Okay, let me go back here for 1 second. There we go. All right. The other thing is that we are both members of 2 groups. We have 2 mutual groups in common, Need a Speaker, Be a Speaker, and Orlando Professional Network groups. So what I would do is I would go up here and click on the connect button. So let's say I want to connect with this person. Now, this is a good option, is that a lot of people, as we talked about last week, they will just send you connection requests, and they are pretty much just hitting this send now button. But as students of the LinkedIn marketing formula, you are going to know that it's important not to do that. To have a better chance of getting this connection accepted, I strongly recommend that you click on add a note. And now you can customize the invitation. So actually, and this is what I'll do, I'll type this in since I can't share my notes with you right now. I'll just go ahead and say, let's see, I think his name was Thomas, so I'm going to leave that off for now. But if you know his name, you could say, you know, hi Thomas or whatever. But I'm not. Oh, yes, it is. There it is. Hi Thomas. Okay, so I can say hi Thomas. Okay, I'm not going to send this right now, so pardon the typos. I love. Oh boy. This is going to be hard. I'm using a new computer that I'm not sure where the keyboard is. Okay. All right. So I love to meet forward-thinking people. And again, just excuse the typos. I'm not sending this. Forward-thinking people. And you could insert something about their industry. Let's pretend he was a real estate professional. Okay. Yes, I'm definitely not used to using this keyboard. Oh boy, this is really bad. Okay, let me see if I can somehow get my fingers on the right keys. On LinkedIn, there we go. Okay, and I see that we're both members, which is what I'm trying to type. I'm just going to tell you that we're both members of the Orlando networking group, whatever. Well, you get the point. Then you can add on something like, I'd like to connect to see how I might support your success, sincerely. And this little indicator here, 151, indicates how many characters you have left. So there is a limit in how long you can make this note. So you don't want to make it too long. So I'm just going to hit cancel because I don't want to send him that lovely invitation with all of those typos. That would look really bad and really tacky, and he would absolutely not want to connect with me. That would be really bad. So I'm going to stop the share for a minute. Okay, so that's one that's a little bit you know, a nice introduction that you could give him. Another way that you could say it is you could just say, let's say you didn't find any groups that you have in common. You didn't really see a whole lot, except maybe you're both connected to, you've got maybe 2 or 3 connections in common. You could just send the request that way and say, hey, I noticed that we have several connections in common. Or, hey, I see that we're both connected to Jane Smith, and I thought it wouldn't hurt to reach out. Would love to connect here if you're open to it. And then that's it. You send that on. So it can be a little bit more in depth, or it can be just short and sweet. But whichever way you go, I definitely recommend that you put something in there. Put something in there. You want to give this person a reason to want to connect with you, because the blanket no information connection requests can be very easily ignored. I mean, some people will go in and look, as we talked about last week, and will review and then say, okay, well, maybe I'll accept this connection request. But you can't count on that. So I recommend that you do that way. And another thing, you know, this is when you're dealing with prospecting, but let's say you have met someone outside of LinkedIn. Let's say you went to a networking meeting in your local community. Then you could, let's say you connected with someone there, you could see about connecting with them on LinkedIn after you come back and you get onto your phone or you get to your desktop or your laptop computer and say, hey, you know, I was so happy to have met you at the Women's Prosperity Network meeting yesterday or today, you know, earlier today, and I would love to connect here on LinkedIn. Use something that will help them to jog their memory about where they met you, because ideally, of course, LinkedIn wants you to only connect with people you know, but you can certainly connect with people that you have something in common with, even if you haven't met them directly. And that's where the samples that I gave, which you will have in your notes, so don't worry about taking frantic notes right now. You will have them in your notes. That's where those would come into play, that you could use those. Now, once you send off your connection request, you don't know how long it's going to take for that message to be accepted. Some people will accept them right away. Some people won't. You know, you may never. But so it's a numbers game, really, and that's why it's important to keep track of, you know, log every day or however often you're deciding to prospect on LinkedIn. Let's say you do it twice a week and you search for people. And so keep track of that information and keep track of when you sent the connection request so that then you can go back in and see, you know, so that you'll be able to keep track of it. And which actually reminded me, I'm going to go back and share my screen a minute here, because there is a way for you to see when you have been, when you've sent actually connection requests. So I'm going to go show that here. I'm going to go back up to home, and I believe actually it's under network, my network again. Yeah. Oh, where you go, I think it's right here with manage all. Let me see. Yeah. Okay. So it's under manage all. And I believe that it also will show you, yeah. Okay, so these are all the connection requests I've received, but then if you go over here, you can click on sent, and this is where LinkedIn keeps track of the connection requests that you have extended to other people. And so I have 19 invitations that I've sent out recently, and going back actually a few months. So as you can see, there have been people that you know, didn't accept my invitation. And so if you want, maybe you decide that maybe this person isn't such a great prospect for you after all, you can go ahead and withdraw that invitation. Or maybe you might even be able to withdraw it and then initiate it again, because maybe for whatever reason, that maybe it was the time of year, they were busy, who knows. You could withdraw it and then initiate that response again. So that's how you do that. So I just want to make sure that you are aware of that. Okay, all right. So, okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is, what do you do once you've made that connection? Excuse me. Once somebody has accepted your connection, what do you do now? Right? Okay. So this is where the money is in the follow-up. And this is so important for you to follow up and keep following up, because it's that a lot of people do not necessarily take the time to continue to follow up with prospects, and then they wind up losing out and not being able to make a connection and to really generate a solid lead and even client. And it does take time with some people, because some people aren't ready to buy from you now. And that's why you have to nurture these leads. I have had people who have come back to me like a year or even a couple years after we first connected, and now they're finally ready to buy because they just weren't in a position to do so. So you have to be patient, but definitely come up with a sequence that you can follow to be able to connect with people. And again, this is something I have in the notes, but I'm going to just walk you through it right now. Is once you've got that connection, once you've seen that somebody has made a connection with you, I would right away is to send a follow-up LinkedIn message. And the way to be able to do that is you can go to their profile and you will see that little blue message button is right there underneath their name, and I think right above their picture. So there's it's really easy to send them a message. And it will be a message, something as simple as, hey, hi, it's great to connect here on LinkedIn. You could say something like, I like creating real friendships instead of passive ones and would love to hear about you and what you're up to in the world. Let's schedule a time to talk. Do you have time next Wednesday or Thursday or whenever days you have in your schedule? So send that message, send some sort of message like that, at least acknowledging that they accepted your request, and see if you can get some response. Now, I will tell you that the odds of getting a response are, I don't know what the percentage is, but it may actually be pretty low. So once you've done that, once you've sent that initial LinkedIn message, I would wait a couple days. Let's say day 1, you send the follow-up LinkedIn message, and then day 3, if you haven't heard back from that person, I would follow that up with an email message. And you can get their email message, you can get their email address, I should say, right from their profile. On the right-hand side, I'll show you again just as a reminder. Let me share my screen again, and I'll show you where to find that information. We'll just go to my profile, so I'll show you where it is. View profile, there we go. All right, and you will find that information right here on the right-hand side where it says contact and personal info. And right there, most people will have an email address in there. They won't always necessarily have a phone number, but I would say 9 times out of 10, people at least put their email address there. So, so you can grab that information, save that into your, stop share, come on. Come on, stop share. Come on. I'm trying to stop the screen share. There we go. Save that into your spreadsheet so you have that information there to refer back to. So, so day 3, I would send an email message. And since you're going to this, you can either do the same exact message that you sent earlier with LinkedIn, or better yet, this would be an opportunity for you to add a little bit more info, and because since you're taking the time to send an email, it's a good idea this is actually even the time to start nurturing this person and to start really introducing yourself to him or her, and offer them something of value to be able to start this process and see. The goal really of any of this is to be able to get to where you can actually have a phone conversation with them, so that you can really learn more about their particular needs and see if you are in a position to be able to help them out. So for instance, in this email message, you could start off again by saying, hey, thanks for accepting my LinkedIn connection request. And then move into something else. Now, mention something that you know is top of mind with that prospect. So this requires doing a little research. And so you've got these couple days in between sending the LinkedIn message to do a little bit of research on this prospect and look for something that would be top of mind with them. Maybe there's a trade show that they might be appearing at, or they might be visiting. Use Google and do some research in their industry. Maybe they check out their website and see what's new with them. Maybe they've launched a new product, or look for an industry survey. Anything you can do that you can find something that they're going to say, hey, this person knows a little bit about what I'm going through. Then in the next paragraph, talk about some sort of common problem in their industry or that their industry faces that is something you actually solve with whatever product or service you have to offer. And then offer to give them something that positions you as an expert in their eyes. And this could be, let's say, an ebook that you have on your website, or an article. Now I'm going to back up the bus here a little bit, and just to make sure you caught that I said offer to send them something. Don't automatically give it to them in the email. And here's why. Again, you don't know for sure if they're even going to open your email or that they're even going to be interested in you. So if you just send them this, great ebook or whatever lead magnet you have to offer, and then you don't hear back from them, well, it's a bit of a waste. So instead, what you're doing is sort of teasing their interest by offering it to them. And then if they respond back to you and say, yeah, that really sounds interesting, I would love to have that, then you can send it to them. And then you can also then have an opportunity to say, hey, here's the link to my great report, special report about how to solve XYZ problem. And if you then, once you send that to them, you can follow up with them again in a couple of days and say, hey, I hope you enjoyed that report I sent you. If you have any questions, I'd love to chat with you about it. Let's set up a time to chat on Wednesday. What's your availability? So you see, you're following up, you're nurturing, and being able to give them something of value. But it's offering them this opportunity to see if they really are interested. Because if they're not interested, then you don't have to necessarily follow up, although you should still follow up for a little while first before giving up, but at least see if they're interested in that right away. In the introductory email message, and by the way, I have this in your notes, all the information that should go in here. The other thing you could include in there is some sort of credibility about you. So you could include a link to your about page, or maybe, I know someone who does this is in your email signature, maybe right underneath it you have a testimonial from one of your clients. You could also include, maybe again, mention just briefly some of your recent clients. You could say that you've worked with, these different companies, or you've got, so many years of experience, or your unique background. But I know I'm giving you a lot of things that you can put in this email. However, there's a qualifier here, is that I would also encourage you to be very, brevity is your friend here. So keep the email short. Try to keep it under 125 words, because everybody is busy, right? And so it's you don't want to be overwhelming this person with a whole bunch of information, because if they see this long email, they may just hit the delete button and not even pay attention to it. So give them just enough information to whet their appetite, to get to know you a little bit, and that way you've got this opportunity to continue the conversation, ideally. So again, hopefully this email will get them to respond favorably to you, and then you can suggest a phone call or a Skype call, or even an in-person meeting if you're in the same town, because that's always great too. But again, people are also very busy, so a phone call might be the better way to go, so they don't have to spend time meeting you in person. Now, that being said, you send this great message, crickets. You don't get a response. Okay, it's a week goes by or so, and you're not getting a response. Well, that's when you can follow up with a phone call. And actually, maybe not even wait a week. I would just, I think in my follow-up sequence is actually, I just give you a couple days. Give people a couple days and follow up with a phone call. And you can say, hey, I sent you an email the other day talking about, again, reference their industry, reference their problems, and reference your message in a sense, that email that you sent, especially if you don't get them on the phone. So if you have to leave a message, definitely be brief and to the point about it. If you get to talk to them on the phone, obviously, then you can go into a little bit more detail. But of course, always make sure when you get somebody on the phone, ask them if this is a good time to talk, if they actually have a couple minutes to talk, so that you're honoring their time, and that will help to, they'll appreciate that you are honoring them, and they will hopefully be more willing to give you a couple minutes, if they do have the time, to talk with you. So again, I've got in this follow-up sequence that I gave you in your notes today, it basically talks about send the follow-up LinkedIn message, then an email, then follow up with a phone call. If you don't get any response from the phone call, let's say you have to leave a message and nobody calls you back, send another email. Wait a week, send an email. If another week goes by and you still haven't gotten any response, try the old-fashioned way and actually mail them something. Maybe you have you've got some sort of, you come across a great industry article, maybe, top tips on how to do something that would be related to them, or your own. Maybe at this point you go ahead and send them your own lead magnet, a copy of it. Send that to them in the mail. Wait another week or so. If you still don't hear anything, send another email, and then wait another a bit of time and follow up with a phone call. In this instance, you will have reached out to them, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. So after 7 times, if you don't hear from them by then, I would wait at least another month and then try one more time, send another email or a phone call, however you want to do it. And again, you're going to have to use your judgment on this, because if you really think they're a great prospect for you or some type of good potential client, don't give up on them. And you never know. So it's actually, I'm going to back up the bus and change my mind about that. What I would recommend doing is, once you've gone through these 7 times, is actually look and see how you can raise your profile in them through other methods. So let's say if you've looked at their profile, and let's say that they have a website and they have a blog. I would go through, read their blog, and comment on an article or 2, and do that perhaps once a week. Look for them on LinkedIn. And again, we'll talk more about this next week, but look for opportunities where you can comment on their posts on LinkedIn. Look and see if they are on Facebook, and see if you can comment there. But find opportunities for you. If you really think this is a great potential prospect for you, find opportunities where you can be able to kind of, I was going to say not so subtly, but it's really not. You're not being subtle. You're actually going out there and saying, hey, I think you got great stuff. Don't necessarily, and I'm not saying selling them, okay? That's the important difference here. You're not trying to sell them. All you're doing is basically using flattery, and now be sincere about it, okay? Make sure that you are sincere. And if you're reading some material and you find it's great, or maybe you read an article of theirs and you realize that maybe you have something else in your expertise that would help them, offer that and say, hey, I loved your article about XYZ. Did you know that you can also do ABC to be able to help yourself out? Make yourself a great resource for this person, and then that will also help you, because if they start really seeing that you've been persistent and you're being helpful and you are not just trying to sell them something, but you are trying to be an honest resource, then that's going to make them much more amenable to accepting, to being able to, they've already accepted your connection request, but to be able to continue the conversation and start deepening the relationship, which is what this is all about. Okay. Yeah, so I've got in there in your notes, I have, again, I've got some examples of like a follow-up LinkedIn message, the email message, and even what you could even say for a phone call. So let's see. Yeah, so that's the process about being able to go through and using using LinkedIn as a way to be able to find prospects. So I'm going to open it up to questions again right now. And if anybody has any questions about searching and about the follow-up procedure, this is a good time. I will, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question. I will be happy to answer them. I'm trying to think of what are the common questions that I've been asked in the past about this. Let me see. I'm gonna peek at LinkedIn for a minute, and I'm not gonna share my screen, but oh, good grief. Okay. Actually, let me go back here. Okay. Yeah, and let me look and see if there's anything else that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned in regards to searching. Yeah, because I didn't, tell you that there are limits, unfortunately, to the searching. Yeah, we'll talk about I was thinking that there's some other things I want to talk about how to connect with people. We'll do that. We will do that in groups when we get to that. Groups are going to be our last class where we're going to focus on that, because we'll touch back again on using groups as a way to message people. So I'm not seeing any questions right now. So let me go over what your homework is going to be for this week again. And so what I would encourage you to do is to, if you haven't already, set up some sort of a tracking document that you can keep track of your connections that you accept and the connections that you are initiating. And then start playing around with the search feature on LinkedIn. Go ahead and start looking for people. Try searching by title, try searching by industry, whatever you feel is going to be your best bet for finding leads for your business, whatever type of business you have. And then go ahead and initiate some connection requests and see what happens, and see how many people actually do respond to you. And here's a tip that you might want to also do when you're putting this together. And I was actually thinking of this because I've got in my Facebook group that I have for solopreneurs, I was sharing this today, that today's our day for sharing tips and tools, that if you use some sort of a tracking software like Asana, for instance, that where you can set up a system for your business, where you could set up a system in Asana for using LinkedIn, and so that you can say, put all the different steps that you need to follow into that whatever kind of program you're using, so that you can have, this is the day I search for prospects. The next thing is to be able to initiate the connection request, and then the follow-up. And so use things like that, so that can also be a way to help you in managing this. And then at some point, if you get to the point where you can hire someone to help you with this, hey, so much the better, because that will be a great thing for you to be able to do too, is to have someone help you managing this. But the key here is really keeping track and then following up. The fortune is in the follow-up, so make sure that you are doing that and tracking it and keeping and following up with people, because LinkedIn is a great resource for you to be able to really grow your business by connecting with a lot of variety of people. I mean, there's millions of users on there, and I'm sure that you can use this to be more successful in your business, so that you can have a really great prospects and leads for your business to grow. So I think with that in mind, I think we're going to end it for this week. So again, I do encourage you to, if you have any questions during the week, to go to the LinkedIn group. You should have that information. It should have come in your email. So make sure you are, go ahead and use that as a resource. I'll be happy to answer any questions or problems that you have. So take advantage of the LinkedIn group, and then uh, start taking advantage of this and start prospecting for leads. And then I will see you next week where I can talk, where we will focus in on developing a really good engagement strategy with LinkedIn. So that's going to be next week. So I look forward to seeing you all then. And so thanks for being here this week. And I look forward to talking with you again soon.